Hi, and welcome to this AXIA Traders coaching session where I'll be evaluating from one of our senior traders sent me a debrief or a snapshot of his debrief from his performance this past Friday on the 19th of November 2021. And I just wanted to break this debrief from him down on where he felt he severely underperformed. And just to give you a bit of background, on this past Friday, we had quite a few big comments hit the market and some strong, powerful bond moves, some equity moves. We had a gold move and a specific technical gold move to the downside later on in the day. But more importantly is evaluating where, although this trader made approximately $40,000 on the trade, the majority of that on the CL, so that's on crude oil, he was severely dissatisfied with his performance, and not dissatisfied with his performance from a monetary perspective, because this trader certainly has the ability to print six-figure days, multiple six-figure days. He has the ammunition to print those types of days. But I wanted to really share this and hope you can learn a lot from his evaluation and reflection upon himself. And so let's go through it. So this is what this trader sent me, okay? And as part of coaching within AXIA Futures is always to try to decipher and find out, is it a skill deficiency or a psychological deficiency, or where along their game, along the spectrum of skill evolution and skill development, can they perform better the next time. So again, this is what he wrote to me, what I've just highlighted over here. And I've made some personal notes that I'd like to go through with you in this session. I gave it a title, but this is his word for word, and he's incredibly reflective. It's why he's grown so phenomenally over the last few years as a trader. But he did have a bit of a stumble on the back end, in 2020, from the end of March onwards, and that was a result, and he mentions it in one of our blogs, in the AXIA blogs, which I'll show you in a bit. But he had a stumble for a period of eight months when his routine and his process started slipping by. So his whole focus this year has been about, how am I going to amplify my process? How am I going to be, almost subservient to being a routine, habitual, professional trader? So let's go through this, and then I've made my own personal notes, and let's see. So I'm going to read this for you, and I've called this Inner Engineering Through the Love of the Process. So Friday's underperforming, and this is what he says: Friday's underperforming stemmed from a judgment that opportunity was non-existent. Now, we'll know over the last couple of weeks, especially the last couple of months, there have been sporadic opportunities within the futures markets, specifically from a news set, but also even from a technical set. We've had some central bank events, we've had some speakers, but it hasn't been as prolific as it was at other parts of the year. So he says that subconscious resistance to doubling down on preparation as a result of mental attrition throughout the week duped me into a false reality of non-opportunity. Now, cultivating higher conviction through doubling down on preparation was now something I feared, as I believed it would only lead to a larger loss. So as I wrote here, and something that I know a lot of our younger traders, after they've prepared all weekend on a Monday, they create this effective, vindication that we deserve to be rewarded because of our deep prep. So a lot of times there might not be the opportunity on Monday because we prep so hard and the market is approaching an area or a zone that triggers us into action, but we're not seeing the correct order flow, the correct price action, the correct footprint structure, the correct market profile, type of configuration. Well, this is when the confirmation bias is harder to keep in check, when we reward our monkey mind with a false sense of prep reality. So you get this divergence between, well, we prepped so much, and so therefore we feel like we should make money. And so what he didn't want to do, he stopped prepping as deeply, he stopped doubling down as much, simply because he didn't want that ego to come in the way. And therefore, when the opportunity did come, he wasn't really deeply in the zone to extract the maximum from this trade opportunity. And again, on Friday, we had the Austrian lockdown news and the vaccine that became mandatory. And then we were waiting to see what was happening with Germany. And because there were some rumors about Germany, they could also go into a full lockdown. And these influence, from the Austrian news, influenced the markets. And then we also had the Clarita comments at the end of the day. And so he felt there was so much opportunity and there was, technical structural round, but because he never doubled down on his prep, he was not able to extract as much. And so now he's trying to find out why. Why was I not prepping as heavily on a Friday and as heavily when the markets are moving significantly as I would prep when the markets are moving consistently? So I allowed myself to fall into the comfort of common room culture. So when it's not busy, sometimes you'll feel a lot of the room, a lot of the traders around you aren't as active. Maybe there's more banter going on the floor. And so it's you to decide in your trading business, are you going to become part of that, or are you going to be the leader in the sense that you're going to keep on applying the deep professionalism that you demand of yourself in this trading game? And so high performance, you need to separate yourself from the masses in any pursuit, in any game you're doing. There's a great Kobe Bryant interview on YouTube that I like to play before at the end of our career program, the end of our 6-week career program into our coaching program. And he talks about where all of the guys at the end of the season were going out, having a good time, and he was back at the practice courts. He said once he hung up his boots, he did not want to have any regrets. And so I didn't want to come to terms that performing to a high level does not guarantee desired results. Okay, so what does performing at a high level mean? Performing at a high level means just sticking to your process, being religious in your daily habit, your daily rituals, your preparation process, your debriefs at the end of the day. It doesn't necessarily mean that's going to give results. And so what happens when you're prepping every day, you're not getting that outcome feedback. Instead of being in love with the process, what's going to happen is you slip on your process and routine, and then when the opportunity does come, well, you're not ready for it. You can't strike it as hard. And so you must disassociate prep with results. You don't need that instant gratification of results if you prep, because if the opportunity isn't there, you don't need that. So all of this was driven by a feeling, and that's what we're going to be talking about. All of this was driven by a feeling. I was choosing security over process in order to protect myself from my internal obstacles. There is zero objectivity in this approach. When I leave myself, and I love what he wrote here. I tweeted this today when I read it. When I leave myself to the dictation of raw feelings and not process, decision making no longer represents my edge. Let's say that again. When I leave myself, when you're at the mercy of your monkey mind, of all of the elements, and I just want to, at all of these elements, your new governor, as I mentioned in my little notes, your new governor is the monkey mind, who wants you to be at the mercy of system one, almost that reactionary lizard brain traits. System one being that reactionary brain that Daniel Kahneman speaks in the book, Thinking Fast and Slow, an incredible book. But this is what happens. But instead, how am I feeling in that moment? Once I attach myself to the outcome, and what are you going to do? What checklist are you going to put in place? Is there a checklist to observe yourself in real time that gauges your level of outcome versus process focus? And I'd like to say, start creating your own little metrics, your own personal trading business KPIs. Create your own index of measurement of how outcome versus process focus you are. Okay, so once I attached myself to the outcome of what just played out, as opposed to whether I had followed the process appropriately, my emotions started to take over. And so this was because he was not as prepped on the day. When you're not as prepped, the emotions, the reactionary side now can take the lead. Whereas that system 2 brain, the more clear thinking, methodical side, sits in the back. So the position was in oil was an expression of so many things. At that moment, I was feeling too much. Process-driven trading is grinding and not flustering. Thinking about that, he was caught in the washing machine or in a rough sea of emotion, instead of the process side. Well, he mentions here the process side is just about grinding and not flustering. You're not oscillating. Emotions is this oscillating whirlwind within when you're faced to trading, because the markets will trigger those, or you allow the markets just reflect what is going on inside of you. But if he's process focused, the equilibrium is just more constant, and he's not going to be oscillating. He's going to be oscillating in a band of peak performance, because he's not going to escape that those extreme areas, 2 standard deviations from where your emotions start, making sure that your performance becomes really non-optimal. So how can we make the process exciting? So something where we work with our traders on our trading desk, both in London and in Poland, and with our students who come out after the career trading the 6-week career trading program. And so curiosity should be deep in this area. So, because as humans, we're fallible by nature, we're emotionally driven. Emotions, there's, great embodied practices, if into various alternative areas of, whether it be meditation, somatics, and all other practices where you can actually leverage your gut, your body, the information that your body is given. But most of us are very illiterate in that space, because we don't work on it. It's not we illiterate because it's something that needs work upon. So it's what it was an indication that I'm still lacking trust in myself. An example of how desperate I can be when I do not get my way, and an indication that I'm still seeking out traumatic experience. Okay, I'm still seeking out, and I wrote here as a note: are we emotionally driven? Let's reflect on this phrase, traumatic experiences. Human nature seems to have evolved or de-evolved in basking in trauma, and thus do we do this to create trauma? Is it that our lives sometimes do not feel fulfilled, so we seek this displeasure zone? How many, have you been in a situation where you keep on repeating the same mistakes, and you keep on almost sadomasochising yourself and self-sabotaging because you need some type of emotional displeasure? And so it's about breaking the cycle. It's about breaking the cycle and creating new experiences that my future self can build upon. And that's what this is all about, this game. What you're doing every day and applying yourself, creating that constant vision of your future self, so you hack your human system 1 shortcomings. And so trying to beat these feelings through expressing market views is a futile game. Regardless of outcome, they won't be satisfied, as they're open-ended in nature. I mean, amazing. When I read, whenever he sends me his debrief, it's one of the debriefs out of, all the traders that I manage, I coach, and I mentor. I can just see such depth in thinking, and that's why I see his ability to improve so exponentially. In part, in week 5 and 6 of our 6-week career training program, we focus a lot on the very best practices, the rituals, the processes, more important, the processes on how they source opportunity and how they dissect what they're doing. And that's what we focus on during those last 2 weeks of the 6-week career program, by benchmarking the very best practices of our elite traders. And so he says, how you keep these in check is through consistent application of process over time, and not via the market. Okay, this is what this whole debrief is about. It's because he completely underperformed, regardless of the outcome, he underperformed of how he executed from entry to exit to conviction levels, because he was not being consistent in the application of his process. His prep let him down. And he's not going to be at the mercy if the markets aren't moving in towards his edge zone, or they're not happening, but as long as he's at his desk, he's got to prepare deeply. And so if you're deciding to pursue a career in trading, make sure you're religious in this element. It is always there for you to try and resolve whatever emotion it is you're feeling in that moment. Ultimately, a nihilistic method of trying to better understand emotion. I've been feeling so overwhelmed by this feeling of dissatisfaction. It has been so painful, and the person inside of me who wants to revolt against reality is still there. Sometimes we never get rid of that one side of ourselves. It's just, how do we manage it? Or how do we bring its best side in certain moments, maybe outside of the trading arena, and how do we, put a little bit of a silencer on it, or how do we put a silencer on it when we're engaging in the high performance pursuit of trading? My behavior has been so much better despite the obstacles I've faced recently, and I'm proud of that. And this is important because I've seen tremendous improvement in him over the past year as a trader with regards to adhering to his process, his prep, and finding out deeper elements of himself. And so you also have to pat yourself on the back, because as humans, we are fallible, and if we're going to beat ourselves up, instead of taking as another feedback loop, another process of how we can improve, well, then we do have to also commend ourselves instead of ripping ourselves apart. Because then you're letting that side, that monkey mind side, defeat the side that's, growth orientated. So I'm really making a conscious effort to stay focused on my values, to propel me forward, instead of fighting with myself over things I cannot change. So I wanted to share that with you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you ever want to find out whenever he releases, and I ask him, say, can we please put this up on our blog, or can we share it with our internal coaching team? The students who finished the 6-week career program, and he gives me the green light. Well, then I just love to share, because I think it's just so much powerful. We have a very special trader here who at one stage grew so tremendously over a period of 18 months. And so to receive this as a coach, I even learned from it. And so I always say to our senior and elite traders, my best coaching sessions or mentoring sessions are always where we're both learning from each other, as opposed to just being a one direction. So if you wanted to read anything more, we do have our AXIA trading blog. So if you go to axiafutures.com/blog, there is the most recent blog here is from him dealing with trading drawdowns using the right mindset. Also a fantastic deep thoughts in this. We shared this in our Blueprint Facebook group recently, and got some great comments from the traders over there, as well as this incredible. I speak about it in the last week of our 6-week career training program on how understanding of success and failure impact learning curves. So go ahead, go have a read on our blog. And so wanted to share that. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed reading it, and I really enjoyed delivering this now. And if you also want to be part of any part of our training program, if you're looking to improve on your processes, your routines, and benchmark them to the very professionals, then join. You will come in for a free workshop on elitetraderworkshop.com, and we explain a little bit more details of how we approach training our traders. All the best of luck, and have a happy trading week.